Good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Jamestown Public School Board to order. It is July 20th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. in the Tonsman Community Room. Please note that at 4:15 p.m. we had the new member orientation in the district office conference room. I'd like to recognize all those in the audience, including our new board member, Mindy Skunberg, who will, after our old business, will be changing positions here with Dan Tweeten after he's thanked for his service. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dan, would you like to read the school board norms one last time?
You bet. The board developed norms are to share and respect opinions and speak with a united voice once a decision has been reached, execute all duties of the school board in compliance with North Dakota Century Code, properly prepare for meetings, and commit to assessing board effectiveness and ensure high-quality governance for all stakeholders.
Thank you, Dan. Moving under our old business, is anything you would like pulled or removed from the old business, under the old business consent agenda area? If not, is there a motion? Motion by Melissa. Is there a second? Second by Jason. We have a motion and a second for approving the old business consent agenda. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Also, under old business, we've had some discussion about this. We've also sent it to facilities, and it's back for us for the approval of the Jamestown Park and Rec Facilities Agreement. Does someone from facilities want to comment on the discussion? Go ahead, Aaron.
Yes, we reviewed this a couple of times in the facilities committee meeting. It's basically moving away from or moving towards a annual fee structure for use of the park and rec facilities in lieu of how we had been handling it in the past with as major things came up. We were asked to participate, and it was not necessarily known to us in advance on how that would that would look like. So this is going towards more of a shared approach with Parks and Rec and getting it a little bit more easier to anticipate in terms of fees and maintenance and stuff like that. So that's basically what this is.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. Any other questions on that before we move towards this? I just have one question. The total amount then, because we have the positive balance with Park and Rec for the track facility, will this just be taken off? I think it's got to still be around 300,000, something like that. Will that just be billed toward that? When we exchanged the land, we got credit basically for the exchange process for use of the track facility. So like when we use the gyms and those kinds of things, it's just removed from there. Is this just being taken off that?
No.
You know? Yeah.
To my knowledge, like our rental of Wilson Arena, for example, this is a rental fee that's annual, but that is something that I can ask about for a future agreement. I just don't know what the discussion was on that.
Okay. Yeah, it was for use of facilities, the balance for that. Do you know, Aaron, did you discuss that?
As far as I was aware, this would be above and beyond it from what we were doing today. So this would be an extra fee for the facilities that are listed there in the memo.
Okay.
And then it's basically just providing the schedule and getting the prioritized access to it.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, but if we could take it off that, we can bring that to maybe the finance committee too, but if we could work down that balance that we have, or positive balance that we have with them, that might be a thing to look at for this or future. So
Was there a special, a specific agreement language? Maybe we should.
Yeah, I haven't read it for quite a few
So
years
maybe we
since we
should look
made
at,
it.
the finance committee should
Yeah.
look at that in
Yep, we
that
can do that.
context.
Yeah, so let's just, we can move forward if we want to look at this agreement, but how the funds will be allocated, we may want to just to have a discussion with finance with that too, if that's okay with the board? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was as I was going through all our documents today, that was my one question about that one. Any other, thank you for reporting on that. Is there a motion? Motion by Jamie, is there a second for approval? Second by Aaron, we have a motion, a second for approval of the Jamestown Park and Recreation Facilities Agreement. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? I was thinking, Melissa, you and I were probably the only ones that were on the board at that time, right? Yeah, any other discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. At this time, we'd like to recognize Mr. Dan Tweeten for his service and thank him very much for his service on the board, on negotiations, health insurance, finance. And so we just really, he even fit in an additional finance committee meeting in July here, so we do appreciate his time and dedication to us, so. Go ahead, Melissa.
Mr. Dan Tweeten has served as Jamestown School Board member for 5 years. He has participated in finance, health insurance, and negotiations committees. We thank you for your dedication to make Jamestown Public School the school of choice. The board wishes you all the best.
Yep, thank you. And you can take your name tag down for the final time. And at this time, I'd like Mindy Skunberg to please come forward and take her place on the board. And welcome, Mindy. Moving on to the next part of our agenda, this is considered our annual meeting, so we need to have organization of the board for the 2026 to 2027 school year. The first order of business in this is the election of officers. And so we'll need to elect a president first and then a vice president. And as many board members know, it takes a lot of time being the president, and I've moved family vacations and changed work travel and done all those kinds of things. And I was thinking that it may be time to rededicate my time. Although we've had some changes this year in our district, and so it's up to the board. If the board would like me, I would serve one more year, but if not, or even in a supporting role as vice. Otherwise, I'm happy if the board would like someone else to start this year out. I'm fine with that as well. So right at this time, I'll take some nominations for president. Melissa.
I nominate Jason Rohr for president.
Okay. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Okay. We have one nomination for president of Jason Rohr. At this time, I'd like to close nominations, unless there's any others. All right. Being there's one candidate, Jason, you can come over here and change positions with me. And then Adam, I'm not sure who signs that book, because some of that's, so we'll have, Jason, you and I will have to figure the book out.
Thank you. Okay, this will be a learning curve for all of us, especially with the technical difficulties. Thank you, Dr. Larson, for how many years of a lot of service as not only president, but as a board member. So we are on conflict of interest. I'm sorry, you're right. Any nominations for vice president of the school board? Nominations? Melissa?
I nominate Aaron Roberts for vice president.
We have Aaron nominated. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Would someone be interested in casting unanimous ballot for Aaron? Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye. Congratulations, Mr. Roberts. Now we can move on to conflicts of interest. And with conflicts of interest, what we've kind of geared or moved towards is if there is a conflict of interest, we want to, this conflict of interest is purely for this agenda going forward, not necessarily items that may come down the road. But this conflict of interest would be just for what's coming up on the agenda. So are there any conflicts to declare? Any conflicts? Any conflicts? Okay. Next, and this, I'm not getting access to attachments as of right now, so this could be interesting, but we're moving on to schedule for set date, time, and place of regular meetings. If you look through the attachment, I noticed that the days we usually skipped meetings stayed the same. Not skip meetings, but held one per month, stayed the same. So I don't think there were anything new, surprising on that. So if we had a chance to look over that, what are the board's wishes?
I'll make a motion to approve schedule for set date, time, and place.
Thank you, Dr. Larson. Is there a second?
Can we, I was going to ask, can we do C, D, E, and F?
Well, we can.
Okay.
But I don't know if there's going to be some more discussion on some of those, so, but we'll do C for now. All those, any discussion on the motion to set the calendar as attached to the agenda? Discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all of those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We've set the agenda or the calendar. Now we can get to D, school board compensation for 2026, 2027. Again, the current salary is $4,000 per board member, $5,000 per board member, sorry. I think we increased that last year. So any action or motion or wishes of the board? Mr. McKenna?
I move in recognition of our current financial situation to set the school board members' salaries to $0 this year.
There's a motion to set school board salaries to $0. Is there a second?
That includes the president, but he's the one who's done reimbursement for membership.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Meyer on the phone. Any discussion on the motion of setting the school board salary at $0 for the year? Any discussion? My only question would be, we're not held by Century Code at all for a dollar amount, correct? It just states, okay, I just want to make sure that we're not, okay, thank you. So, just have to set it annually. So the motion we'll vote on now is to set the school board member salary to $0 for 26, 27 school year. All those in favor say aye. Sure, we can do roll call vote on this. Thank you.
Jamie Bear. Heidi Larson. Yes. Jason Rohr.
Yes.
Jacob Meyer.
Yes.
Mindy Skungberg. Okay, I didn't hear you, sorry. Aaron Roberts.
No.
Melissa Gleason? Yes. And Owen McKenna?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-2. Thank you. Next item on the agenda would be schedule for board retreats. And I think Adam or Superintendent Gaylor, did you have anything to chime in on?
No, the attachment in there just represents kind of quarterly an approach to retreats. I think that we've had some very productive discussion. We want to maintain momentum in areas and just be able to share that information and then report out to the community after those retreats.
Thank you. Is there a motion to item or letter E, schedule for board retreats?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Dr. Larson moves that we adopt the attached schedule for board retreats. Is there a second? Seconded by Jamie. Any discussion on that? Any discussion? Any discussion? See no further discussion. All those in favor of the board retreat schedule, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Board member committee assignment draft. I guess since it's a draft, we can either adopt that tonight or we can take further recommendations. If there's anybody who, there's been ample time to, I believe, to review that and see if there's anything that you didn't like on it. So what are the board's wishes concerning the board member committee assignments? Yep.
I would nominate that we approve the board member committee assignments.
Thank you. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded to adopt the committee member assignments for 26-27. Is there any discussion?
One question on the negotiations.
Oh,
Is there a time frame when we need to fill that TBD spot on the negotiations committee? Seeing that
Well, we could-
are once
we could-
again in the negotiations here.
we could fill it right now. Anyone not present? No. So no, that's a good point. Think about it. Mr. Tweeden and I did negotiate as two-member team the first year. Went to 3 members, which I appreciated that just from the standpoint of there were schedule conflicts and whatnot. And as a board, I think we really want to avoid just one board member at the meeting. So think about it. We'll do some prodding, voluntolding, whatever. To any suggestions?
And I intentionally put the TBD there just because at this point, we don't have any conflicts declared, and there could potentially be some conflicts. And so I just left that as TBD, and the previous people that were on there that didn't have prior conflicts. And I thought we could, even maybe in a retreat, have a discussion as to where and how we want to move forward. So we can have a lot of transparency also with the public. So that's just my thoughts, but feel free to go a different direction.
So we made a motion. Is there any further discussion on the motion to accept the board committee assignments as written or attached? Any other discussion? Further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Roman numeral 6, new business consent agenda. Again, this is a consent agenda. So if there's anything anybody wants to pull off there and discuss, we certainly can do that. This is a lengthy part of the agenda because they are our annual items that we have to get in the agenda and approve. I don't know going forward, Mr. Gaylor, if there's anything you wanted to address, but this consent agenda would include payment of bills, pledged securities, administrative memos, all 7 of those, and then J under other is basically designating district staff to be assign certain duties. And then after that, we see the handbooks. So is there anything that the board would like to readdress? Mrs. Skunberg?
There are errors in the elementary school handbook.
That's, so.
Okay.
So that needs,
I was going to ask for the elementary, it was asked
Okay.
that the elementary handbook gets pulled right now.
Yeah.
There is some errors and there's some clarification that's needed in there. And so we're going to bring that back in August. And so I was asked
Okay.
to have, prior to right before the meeting was
Okay.
that we needed to
Thank you.
remove that one, so,
Mr. Gaylor?
for the next meeting, take it off completely.
Yeah, we're approaching the school year pretty quickly, but we also hope to have some hires and would need to work together to set a special board meeting date that would still give adequate time to get those disseminated to families.
My understanding also is the district's going to approach these handbooks in a different manner through a committee as opposed to purely central office staff. So I think that's somewhere on the agenda. But anyway, so we will remove the elementary handbook from the consent agenda and address that later. So is there a motion or any other items to be pulled off the consent agenda? Mrs. Bear?
I just wanted to get some clarification on the high school, specifically for the excused sickness absences. I know it states in there that you're only excused on the day you go to the doctor, so any consecutive days would be unexcused unless there is a specific return date stated. For example, if my child has strep throat, goes to the doctor, gets diagnosed with strep throat, they might say you can come back to school when feeling better, but I don't know, it just kind of leaves me a little uncomfortable with, we don't want sick kids in school spreading their germs, but we also want, kids to come to school, so I don't know. I'd just like
So does that
some
need to be
clarification on
readdressed
that.
also?
I did talk to our representatives from the SARB committee because that was a question that I had as well. And they had worked through that SARB committee process to draft that language. And what they're really looking for is clarity in the dates that are excused. In some cases, they were getting more blanket statements that that were not beneficial to the student to have excessive absences. And so they were just looking to get clarity on what those dates are in those medical notes, and that was the policy way for them to seek that out.
It would be nice if that was maybe communicated to our parents when they do take their child to the doctor, so when they're asking for that absence, like, we need a return date otherwise. And to my understanding that if there's continuing absences, it gets kind of kicked to the SARB committee, and they will evaluate from there, which I'm sure wouldn't be a huge deal since it's, you have your 1 or 2 excused absence in the consecutive day, but just to kind of make that clear to families as far as what they need, information they need when they go to their medical providers.
Thank you. Any other items that we would like to either pull off or address concerns or questions? Oh, Jacob. Okay, go ahead.
There's the backpack section, says something to the regards of discretion to the teachers. And I think that's a bit vague, that I think as a school, we need to decide if backpacks should be in the lockers or not. I heard from some mostly former teachers who had issues with the policy, and then I've heard from some other folks that students stash backpacks if a teacher doesn't allow it. We have kids moving around and they shouldn't be, that it's causing some chaos. And then I also personally had some concerns with safety, with students with backpacks in general. It's easy to conceal illicit items in backpacks when we're moving from room to room. I think there's some more discussion needed on the topic. I had it requested that maybe the department heads could meet and try to draft a revised policy before the school year starts. Just some ideas, but those were some multiple teacher input that I received before the meeting.
And that would be something that would be typical for the site-based leadership team to discuss at the high school. And if it's, if it's a concern, to then address that through the principal and then bring any updates to the handbook to the board. So what I can do is pass that information along then to the high school principal, because they typically have a department chair meeting before the school year, and they can discuss it there.
And so if that's on their agenda and a revision is made, can that be implemented immediately? Or, well, we could bring the handbook back and adopt it.
They would need to, you'd be approving the one that's on the consent agenda.
Sure.
And they would need to bring that back. But I
Okay.
can take that request from the board directly to the high school principal.
And Mrs. Bear's point also, we could maybe do the same. Jacob, is that fair?
Yep, I think that works.
Okay, so moving along, any other items other than handbooks? No. Any other items on the agenda, on the consent agenda that, okay. Seeing none, there has been a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the new business? I'm sorry. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the requested items and actions.
Thank you.
Requested items removed and actions.
Thank you. Is there a second to Dr. Larson's motion? Seconded by Mrs. Gleason. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving our new business consent agenda, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Moving into our regular meeting, no correspondence. We bypass board education. I guess I'm up next, and it is regarding the superintendent evaluation. And I don't have my exact committee report in front of me, which I may need, but thank you. Thank you. The committee, ad hoc committee, basically discussed a few things, and we determined that per this meeting, we need to address 3 things in the record or in the minutes. And so I apologize that this was somewhat of a late attachment to the agenda, but just a few things. A reminder that, per Century Code, we need to do 2 evaluations a year. That's the first requirement. The second requirement is that we discuss the evaluation with the superintendent and it's placed in the personnel file. Those are really the only 2 directives of Century Code, that we do 2 a year and we discuss and place it in the file. So the items for discussion based on that were 3 things that we felt should be brought up. There's a new service, and we talked about this at the retreat, but I just wanted to bring it up again here to make sure we're all on the same page. And the new service provided by the School Board Association is a tool for superintendent and or business manager evaluations. There was a fee of that for about $80. I did $80 per board member. I did sit through the 90-minute, hour-long video on that. And we can do whatever, but my takeaway from that was that it's really not offering anything that we're not doing already. The only benefit I saw to it was that whatever the results are of the evaluation, you have a variety of ways to present that or to organize the data or the outputs that you want. However you want to see the results, there's more options there. So the committee's recommendation was that we bypass for this year and continue with what we're the the general outline of what we've been doing. And so is there any opinions on that recommendation? Dr. Larson?
I think we discussed this in the retreat, and we'll just, because of the cost of it, and we really, it's new, so we
Right.
thought we would wait and see even how, talk with other school districts and the school boards to see how they liked it. We're also really comfortable using this one, but there were those few questions that you
Yep.
and Steve noted
Yep.
that needed to be kind of tweaked a little bit just so it fit, because they
Sure.
didn't necessarily fit. It's hard to evaluate on something that doesn't fit. The only thing that Steve was unable to make it to the meeting tonight, but he just wanted to also include when we present the evaluation, the motion at the bottom, because it's kind of cumbersome as we go through all those 6 parts, that if the motion was written out, he felt it would go more efficiently.
Sure.
So I do agree with that.
Okay, thank you. So if there's no action on the School Board Association service, we will move on to evaluation timeline. Again, basically our only requirements are we do two evaluations a year. The board's recommendation was keep the timeline the same, but perhaps come up with a more strategic approach to some feedback. Now, comments, there's a place for comments on the current evaluation. And Steve's idea actually was, after we do an evaluation, maybe some of the areas that the superintendent wants to address, we make comments on those, or just something more targeted feedback so that we make sure, because comments are the most important thing, and the follow-up of the evaluation and how it's used is the most important thing. So Steve's idea was just some more directed feedback, maybe at times. And I know that might have just confused or not been very clear, but are there any thoughts on the timeline, first of all? I think I'm going to make an assumption here that we're going to stay with specifically or primarily the same tool, okay? But what do we want to see for an effective timeline for the eval? Dr. Larson?
Well, it's in Century Code, so we have to have it done by those 2 dates.
Right.
In November and March, so.
Right.
Also,
But-
there's not a way also in our current tool to tell when a comment was put in there. So someone might put a comment in there in March, end of March, second meeting in March.
Right.
Which is evaluated and looked at in October. And sometimes it's hard to figure out what topic that comment was on, because there's so many months that have passed. So I don't know if there's a way to put a date in there
And-
for the comment.
and I think
might
that-
be more helpful for the feedback you're talking, because the
That's a
comments
good-
are helpful, you just don't know when they're coming in.
That's a
So-
good, yeah.
Just one thing that you can see, that the evaluation timeline, we have policy that governs that, and it says that there's a monthly obligation for that as well, just for
Right.
board awareness that policy would need to be changed if that's what's being
Right.
discussed.
Thank you, correct. So any other feedback or thoughts on the timeline or how we're doing? Because we do it after every meeting or a section of it. Are we, any thoughts, feedback on that? Mr. Roberts?
Yeah, I think it's, we're kind of doing some incremental changes, and I think we don't really need to address anything, substantive at this point. Just kind of make those incremental improvements, and then for this year, and then if we want to consider using the NDSBA tool, then next year we can continue to evaluate that.
So I do believe we need an action item on this. Do we need to get it in our record, or we need to approve the timeline for the superintendent evaluations? Is there anyone with a motion to that effect?
The revisions on the questions recommended.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry. Okay. The recommendations on some of the questions. Again, I apologize if you haven't had time to review this, but Steve brought up well, actually, I think it was another board member in comments brought up questions 4 and 8, that those questions are a little too vague. And I did retype the questions there for you. And Steve's suggestion was that we take those two questions and somewhat combine them. So question 4 deals with the roles and responsibilities of the job description, okay? And that the superintendent follows policy and practices. And so to address the vagueness comment, the suggested language Steve came up with is the superintendent executes the roles and responsibilities of the job description through the strategic plan, district policy, and best practices. So we can leave the questions as is, we can change them, we can throw them out, whatever we want to do. Thoughts? Mr. Roberts?
Yeah, I've commented on those two questions specifically in the past, and the rationale for my comments was basically, it's no news is good news approach, and it's not necessarily a vagueness, it's just there's no transparency or visibility that we would have unless something bad happened
Right.
on an exception basis. So it was hard to judge the performance of the superintendent based on that. So the suggested language, I think it's an improvement. Because it's focused on basically the superintendent's interaction with the board. The best practices part of it is kind of, I'm not really
Okay.
sure what that means, but that can be okay too, because you can always comment.
Okay.
If you're not, but as far as the ranking, rating, I think it's a step in the right direction, but I don't know. Is it where we need to be? I'm willing to give it a try and see how it goes.
Okay, thank you. Any other input on questions 4 and 8? Again, we don't need the questions. We don't, it's totally up to us. Any other thoughts?
I guess I like the combining the two and doing the verbiage as you had suggested there.
Comments on questions 4 and 8, and then I suppose we could take a motion and vote on that? Thoughts on, or action, or?
If you're looking for a motion, I'd make a motion that we redo the verbiage on the superintendent evaluation as given to us.
Thank you. Is there a second? Any further discussion on the motion regarding questions 4 and 8 and combining them? Any other thoughts, discussion? Any other discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor of combining those two questions in the sorry, Mr. Roberts?
Just to clarify the motion, just to make sure we understand, was your motion to accept the recommendations from the committee as a whole as presented in the memo, or just questions 4 and 8?
Good point, thank you. All those in favor of approving the motion to revise questions 4 and 8, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Questions 12 and 18, the concern there was from Steve in that it's not a direct responsibility of the superintendent. If you remember, question 12 provides a timely and high-quality professional development for staff, and the superintendent recommends curriculum changes as necessary that support the district's mission, strategic plans, and goals. And I think Steve's comments focused around are we evaluating Mr. Gaylor on that in his former role, or what, what's the linkage there? And we actually are proposing that we just drop those questions from the superintendent eval. But if there's a way we want to address the curriculum piece in the eval, we can do that too. But we'll open it up now for discussions on questions 12 and 18. Mrs. Gleason?
Are you recommending that we drop 12 and 18 like in perpetuity, or just until we have a superintendent who's been here long enough to evaluate that.
Well, from my understanding, from Steve, we were recommending either dropping them or revising them in a context that was pertinent to the superintendent. So does that answer your question? Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on questions 12 and 18? And at any time, we'll take a motion on action. Any other discussion? We can keep them, drop them, revise them. And if you want this piece in the eval, you can kick it back to us and we can, I don't know if we can do that because of the time, but any thoughts? We can leave them, we can. Any thoughts or motions? Melissa?
I don't know, my initial thought is to just leave them in there, and maybe we could just put not applicable at this time in the comments, or would that just totally mess up it would mess up the whole system on that? Okay. Okay, okay.
That could skew the scoring if we don't, if we gray it out, I guess, and not allow people to, it would be fine. But let's say only one person responded, it still would be in the record. And the scoring would be skewed probably if it's just one out of 9 board members, so.
And then it could look like he's not doing that correctly.
Any other
Or the
ideas?
other way.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mrs. Bear?
I guess I would be in favor of dropping these two for this year's evaluation, as they don't directly apply to our superintendent until we can come up with a better verbiage of how we would track that or judge that.
I'm sorry, was that a motion? Or an opinion? Okay. So, there's an important distinction. Mrs. Gunberg?
I just have a question. If the superintendent doesn't bring recommendations for curriculum, who brings them to our board then?
The building level curriculum committee bring them to the superintendent. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. That does not mean the superintendent is recommending, the superintendent is reviewing before the board would. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I
The
mean, I
building-
understand the building level is
Right.
like looking and researching and recommending their curriculum, but then the superintendent is who's proposing it to us,
Right.
correct? And this says that it like supports the district's mission, strategic plan, and goals, which yes, the building level should be doing, but our superintendent should be ensuring that as well.
Fair point. Thoughts on that? Mr. Roberts?
Yeah, just because I would argue that it is the responsibility of the superintendent, but that doesn't mean he has to actually go and do all the work.
Right.
To develop that. So I'd be supportive of keeping these questions for now, especially with some of the things that we are looking at in terms of the curriculum changes. So I think it is directly applicable to his role.
Is there a motion? Okay. I guess if there's no motion, then it stays in there as is. Okay. Consensus? And then finally, question 30 dealt with facilities, with budgets. And Steve mentioned that this is the question that has drove him craziest of all the evaluation, in that we're rating a superintendent on things that really truly are beyond any individual person's control to some degree. So I guess for the purpose of a superintendent's evaluation, the role would be just to make sure that the superintendent is reviewing and maintaining records and initiating the capital projects plan and whatnot. So the suggested language focuses around just making sure those boxes are checked, such as the superintendent administers and reviews facility audits to maintain awareness of school buildings, grounds, and equipment, while keeping an updated capital projects plan to fit the immediate and long-term needs within the budget and vision of the board. Any questions or thoughts on question 30? I think one of the main issues with the way it is worded is ensures. The superintendent ensures. Mr. Roberts?
So I move to replace the existing language with the suggested language presented in the memo.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Larson. Any further discussion on the revised language for question 30 of the superintendent evaluation? Any other discussion? See no further discussion, we'll now proceed to vote. All those in favor of the suggested language for question 30, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, so that motion will carry. So, quickly to review, questions 4 and 8 will be combined into the suggested language. We will leave questions 12 and 18 alone for this year, and question 30 will be revised by per the suggested language. So now we need to approve the timeline. So we'll need a motion, I'm assuming, regarding the evaluation timeline. Again, we went through that. Any motion to that effect? Okay, there's a motion to basically maintain what we've been doing with this superintendent's evaluation timeline. Is there a second? Seconded by Owen. Any further discussion on the superintendent evaluation timeline? Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the timeline, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Same sign. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. So that leaves us with moving on to our superintendent's report, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Rohr. So the report's in there, it's available, and I'm just going to highlight a few things within this report. First, later in the agenda, you guys will be discussing a transfer from the Special Reserve Fund. This is something that boards have authority to both maintain a Special Reserve Fund and then to transfer up to half of that fund. It was discussed during negotiations, given the declining enrollment and the impact that that has on us budgetarily, that the negotiating team still wanted to continue to look at how we could fund raises, and that was the solution that was given. It's a one-time funding source with perpetual raises, and so that's something that the board will discuss later in the meeting. Happy to answer any questions at the end if anyone has any about Special Reserve. Communication, so this is something that is pretty exciting. We have a group of high school teachers that are pulling together a communications plan to really just promote all the amazing, diverse opportunities that we have, both in the activities world and in our classrooms. And so at an upcoming board meeting, I just wanted you to be aware that you may see a proposal. Advertising is not free, but they're doing the best that they can to keep costs down. And they do want to really just celebrate within the community and elevate Jamestown Public Schools as a destination district. When you look at communications, we also have the benefit, and thanks to Dr. Larson for arranging a communications intern. So that communications intern has really been looking at our app, along with Quentin Pettis in the technology department, looking at our social media presence, doing some interviews with staff on how we get information out, and really, again, celebrating JPS, improving our branding, So that'll be a limited scope of that internship, but we hope for some great outcomes, and I hope that'll influence the updated communications plan that I bring to the board. A shout out to our high school staff that teach advanced placement courses. This takes additional training, it takes additional time, and it also, I think, is a recognition of our system that our students are, we're doing amazing. I mean, if you look at the scores across the board, and you'll probably hear me say this again and again, but we don't have to be sick to get better. So we're doing really well, but there are areas that you can see that we can continue to improve, and I know that we will because we've got the right people in place and we've got amazing students. I think it's just a huge testament to not only them, but as our system, when we lay the foundation in kindergarten and we move on through all the levels that we have students achieving at this high level, and at the same time we're working really hard to support all students to learn, even those that may struggle to learn the first time. Choice Ready, these are preliminary results, but I wanted to bring this up because we weren't sure what that score would be, and when we had our strategic plan discussion, you'll notice that in the updated plan, the goal was set at 82% of students. That would have been a nice increment, and we're already at 81 as of this year. Excuse me. Facilities updates. A couple things that were discussed at the retreat, just updates in the report there for the board. One of the things of note is that we will be seeking an appraisal for Washington Elementary, just so facilities has that information to understand what options might exist in the future. There's no plans with that, but we do need that information to be able to make good future decisions. Later in the agenda, you'll also consider activities fees. That was discussed at activities cooperative fees. That was discussed at a previous board meeting. That there would that was something that we needed to look at. We're currently charging $300 per school, and we don't have a program that costs us less than $700 per participant. In some cases, co-ops have multiple participants. And since another co-op opportunity was coming before the board, I provided a recommendation for the board to consider some direction, and also thinking about the schools that would be receiving any of those updated fee schedules, if we determine that, to give them adequate time to prepare and budget for those potential changes as well. New and exciting because it's a return of something that happened in the past. Dr. Leck mentioned in June that we have a desire to start an adult CDL program at JVCTC, and so looking at a request for a transfer of funds later in the agenda. Happy to answer any questions that you would have on that at that time. But an important mission and something that the state CTE director has asked of CTE centers is to look at our facilities and the resources that we have to continue to provide adult education beyond the school day. Of course, we prioritize our students and their needs, but we have great facilities and we have resources and we can provide adult education. It happened quite a bit, I think, as CTE centers evolved in the 80s and 90s, and I think that that's something that the state desires and that we have an opportunity to consider supporting. Secondary schedule, those of you that were on the board will remember that we had a guiding coalition that met several times throughout the winter and spring and provided some recommendations. We studied those a little bit at the board retreat, and this is just an update on that. The board requested at the retreat more community engagement and then staff planning time. So we're going to allocate some time and resources throughout the fall to continue to work that the Guiding Coalition started. Behavioral health services, currently, and I think recently, the board approved a contract with the Village Family Service Center, and we're just doing some additional analysis on that service. That's actually funded through a behavioral health grant that is administered through our special ed unit. And we're just looking at the continuity with that provider and exploring other opportunities. And then I'll just, one of the concerns that I'm looking into is just how do we maintain consistency in those providers? And so we'll continue to explore that, as well as we have some of our most complex students in kindergarten, first grade, kind of in that age 5 to 7. I had a conversation with a state-level person about an opportunity that exists called parent-child interaction therapy, which is actually a service that schools can provide through Title IV-E, but we also have local providers that could provide that service and really help us in supporting some of those more complex needs that students have as they first start schooling. So we'll continue to explore that. I just wanted you to be prepared if we had a potential agenda item related to that. A couple grant updates. We applied for a rural health transformation grant for 0 hour. That is still progressing, but we've seen some positive progress, some questions from them on our budget, which usually is a good sign, but they need to continue to go through that process. Meanwhile, another grant that you approved in the consent agenda is being pulled together by Brandy Hardy and Bill Nelson to support school-based wellness equipment. So you maybe have heard about the Rural Health Transformation and the dollars available in the state, and we intend to make sure that those dollars come to Jamestown as well, and we're going to write the most competitive application we can for whatever we might qualify for. Arts and Education Collaboration Grant, you'll remember that we applied for that, I believe, in April timeframe, and we were awarded that grant, so that's a substantial grant, and it's over multiple years, and it'll provide music enrichment opportunities specific to grade 4 and 5 in our district. So Mrs. Anderson is working on pulling that team together to get that started for this year, and we hope to incrementally kind of grow that each year. You saw the Strategic Plan Committee minutes that were available and saw some of the discussion on that. The big things that there wasn't substantive changes to the strategic plan. The goals were really refined. The committee worked really hard to provide recommendations to clarify language, and so you notice that there's a glossary in there now. They also worked pretty hard on some of the metrics so that we, and Dr. Leck had started this process so that we had some nesting. The board monitors at the goal level, and then the metrics are specific and aligned underneath that goal level. And what that's going to do is when we look at this again in August, if the board has any potential changes or comments, again, if we need to pull the committee together, just please send those comments to me, and we'll determine then if we need to pull the strategic plan committee together. But the intent is then to be able to show you in August not only the strategic plan, but the monitoring tool that the dashboard that can go along with that, and then to seek approval at the next meeting. So this is sort of a first reading, so to speak, of the strategic plan, and I would encourage anybody who's on that committee to fill in any gaps that I might have missed when that agenda item comes up. Infinite Campus, Lisa Hofer and Mr. Knox have been working very hard on this. Well, really, everybody has been working very hard because it's a huge lift for our district, and we just appreciate the grace that we know the community, parents, and students will give, as some of the processes that we're very used to are changing pretty quickly. Anybody who's gone through a major tech adoption knows that those can be challenging, and this is major and large scale for us. It is the backbone of all of our systems, and everything from having a student be able to get into an app in a classroom, all of the linkages that go behind that, they come from the student information system. All of our fees that are paid, all of our registration, everything that you can imagine that goes and flows through that system were things that we had to touch, and in some instances multiple times. This is a state change. It's not a district change, but it's something that the entire state is doing. We did get the Department of Public Instruction awarded some emergency funds to help with the associated costs, and there have been overtime hours. There have been additional hours that will be needed for training. There will be teacher training prior to the school year even that's available that wouldn't have been funded without those emergency funds, so that was important. The board self-assessment is an annual requirement. However, I gained access to the board self-assessment late, and I didn't have time to compile that for this meeting, but we will have it at the August board meeting. Cooperative purchase, and that should say of Chromebooks. Occasionally, the board will see that we use cooperative purchasing, which is, even though the amount exceeds the bid threshold, we're purchasing through a cooperative, and that gives authorization because we have the most competitive bid through that cooperative. So thanks to Mr. Armitage for his work on looking at that. We have some new hires that you'll see later in the agenda, and more to come on that. A spotlight, I would just highlight that Jamestown was featured in a spotlight series on personalized learning. They came and interviewed staff and saw lots of meaningful experiences, and this was just a random day in May. And if you look at everything that was going on that random day in early May, there's a lot to celebrate there. And then I would end with just taking any questions and then advocating to the community to read to your kids, sing to your kids, and get them involved.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Gaylor on the superintendent report? Mr. Roberts?
Just to help the conversation later on in the agenda here, just some context on that CDL program and that capital transfer and how that is looking. So I don't fully understand or appreciate what it is that, or how that's working with the relationship between JVCTC and Jamestown Public Schools and how those transfer funds are going to work out.
Yeah, so, and that is outlined in the memo that's associated with that. The startup capital for a program like that, it should be a self-sustaining adult ed program. CDL enrollments across the state, you know, if a company was, let's say your company was going to send somebody to get a CDL in Fargo, they'd not only be paying the lodging, but they'd be paying about $6,000. And so the intent is to create a self-sustaining program. JVCTC just needs the startup capital for that. And so the intent is that this is a transfer and then a return of those funds.
That was the question there. So
Yep.
there's we're injecting the capital, but then the program is going to
Yep.
feed back and pay back that
There is
capital.
a amortization schedule that I
Yeah, that's what that
included.
was. So that's
Yep.
a payment back to,
the transfer back to JPS.
at the 3.75 or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Good question. Any other questions on the superintendent report? Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Gaylor. Moving on to letter E, new business. Under new business activities, as Mr. Gaylor alluded to, there's a co-op fee direction that Mr. Gaylor is looking for. So, and I know this was talked about briefly. So, per the attachment there, which I don't have in front of me, what are the wishes of the board in regarding the co-op fee?
I would, yeah, good idea. Motion to direct the administration to develop an updated cooperative activity fee schedule based on the actual cost per participant present. The proposed schedule to the board for approval. And communicate the approved schedule to cooperative schools for implementation beginning July 1st.
Thank you. Is there a second to Mr. McKenna's motion? Second by Mrs. Gleason. Any discussion on directing the district per Mr. McKenna's motion. Any discussion? Dr. Larson?
How soon will we be able to, because we have a long list of cooperatives, some haven't been in use or used for many years. How soon, I just want to make sure we give other boards the opportunity to make sure that they can put that in their plan for it. How soon will we notify, or do you anticipate we would notify other schools that are on our list?
What I might be able to do is get some possible recommendations in my next superintendent report, and then maybe bring something in September or October. I think that would give schools adequate time. It is a legislative year, and so I think it'd be important for them to consider that before that process.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Owen?
Yeah, I had one other thought with that. I think looks like it's rectifying something, kind of a long time coming, but is there any thought of, that there's some numbers here in a range of what different activities cost the district? Is there any thought into including some sort of interest or kind of bumping that up a certain percentage per year to kind of keep up with that? Or are we really trying to tie this to exact costs? And that could be kind of a heavy lift too, to try to keep up with changing.
I guess in concept, one thing that people do is approach it in a tiered status. So if you see that range on there between 700 per participant up to 3,500 per participant, we could establish a set of tiers that, this activity is at $1,000 and this one's at $1,500 and maybe this one's at $3,000. But what I think maybe we should be transparent with all involved is if the district is subsidizing participation of students from another district through a co-op, that they at least they know what and acknowledge what that amount is. That was sort of what I heard in the board's conversation in June.
Dr. Larson?
I'd be fine with I think it is nice to have, you almost have it down to the exact dollar. But I do think I agree with Owen, for ease of administration of it, that three tiers, 4 tiers, whatever, these sports fit in tier 1, these are tier 2, and these are tier 3. Just might be simpler, and then we can reevaluate every couple years or something like that. Or if there's something where we know our costs are going to significantly increase, then we can reevaluate it also to start the following year.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion regarding the co-op fee direction? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under activities number 2, co-op agreement with Medina regarding girls hockey. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. There's a motion and second regarding the girls hockey co-op with Medina Public Schools. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? See no further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you. That motion carries. Building and grounds, no items. Under curriculum assessment and instruction, the transfer of funds for CDL program, letter A there. Is there a motion? Moved by Mrs. Gleason. Is there a second? Thank you. Seconded by Mrs. Baer. Any discussion on the transfer of funds for CDL program? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under finance, we've got 3 action items under finance, and we've got the rest are informational. So letter A, Resolution to transfer between funds. That is something that I was going to read, but I'm going to call on Mr. McKenna to read the resolution, please.
All right, so this is the resolution to transfer funds between, funds from the special reserve to the general fund. Whereas the school board of Jamestown Public School District Number 1 operates and controls a special reserve fund, whereas pursuant to North Dakota Century Code 57-19-11, the school board cannot hold a balance in the special reserve fund exceeding 15 mils, whereas the 15 mil limit in the special reserve fund for the 25-26 school year is $1,476,665.13, and the balance of the special reserve fund as of June 30th, 2026 is $417,875.43. Whereas the school board of Jamestown Public School District Number 1 has budgeted $208,937.71 transfer from the special reserve fund to the general fund for the 2026-2027 school year. Therefore, the school board of Jamestown Public School District Number 1 authorizes the business manager to transfer $208,937.71 of special reserve funds, Fund 2, to the general fund, Fund 1, pursuant to North Dakota Century Code 57-19-11 on or before June 30th, 2027. Adopted this 20th day of July 2026.
Any is there a motion to that effect? Mrs. Bear moves Owen's resolution as read. Is there a second? Second by Mrs. Gleason. Any discussion? And Adam, if you want to provide context or not, but the resolution in this case is required because of the Century Code language, and moving dollars from one account to the other requires a resolution as opposed to just a motion or what we normally do. So any other discussion or questions on the resolution? Dr. Larson?
Just also just for the public's information, this is coming before the board because it was part of something that was discussed under teacher negotiations as a way to access funds for teacher raises this year. Is that correct?
Yes. Good point. Thank you. Any other discussion or questions? Any other discussion? If no other discussion, all those in favor of the resolution, please signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Resolution passes. Motion passes. Letter B, 2025-2026 general fund balance is information unless there's anything Mrs. Grounds wants to point out as we go through this. The 2026-27 summary of debt, 2026-27 draft certificate of levy, 2026-27 preliminary budgets memo, and then letter F, approval of Insight investment lease. Approval of Insight investment lease. Are we reading? So,
This would be for the cooperative agreement, or cooperative purchasing, a lease of Chromebooks? iPads, sorry. It was iPads, yeah.
Thank you. No problem. Is there a second? Thank you. Motion second on approval of Insight investment lease. Is there any further discussion? Any discussion? Mr. Roberts?
So what does the scope of this lease cover?
We just happen to have Mr. Armitage here, if you would be able to come speak to that.
Kind of highlighted early, but that covers iPads for the K through second grade. We've looked at our inventory, it's basically very old. And with the new iOS is coming out, we don't have the storage capacity on the current devices we have. So we are going to keep the version 9s, and we're going to get rid of the 6, 7, and 8 versions. And then to compensate in the 3rd through 5th grade, we're going to bring down Chromebooks from the high school that have now come out of their run. And that's the other IFS lease would be the Chromebooks for the high school. They get 725 new ones for next year. So we're basically putting new devices high and low, and then we're reusing existing resources to fill in the middle elementary grades.
So in lieu of a lease, historically, we've done the purchase, right?
Correct.
So how does this lease compare with that approach?
Basically, the pricing is the same, but it breaks it out into 4 years, and it's much easier for the district to budget, so we know exactly what we're going to pay every year. So when our 5-year cycle's up, we know how much it cost us. We were able to spread that over 5 instead of a $400,000 bill this year. We're able to get $100,000 every year. Gives us a little more breathing space, a little more consistency with our budgeting for new technology.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion? Mrs. Gleason?
Since we're leasing the equipment instead of purchasing it, does that include, like, if there's any issues with it, would that be covered? Like, if you lease a vehicle, things are covered. Would that?
When we bought we incorporated that into the lease agreement, then all of our new equipment comes in with a 4-year bumper-to-bumper warranty. So if Jamie Bear's kids decide to throw it against the wall, we'll probably still bill her, but it's going to be covered, so the district will not lose any money on repairs.
Any further questions or discussion on the motion? For the record, Mrs. Bear's kids would not do that. Any other comment, any other discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve the Insight investment lease, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And moving on to letter G, approval of Marco agreement. Approval of Marco agreement.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Dr. Larson. Moves. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McKenna. Any discussion on the approval of the Marco agreement? Melissa?
Is Marco the only person that we heard back from? Because I know in the past we have had a local person, and I didn't know if that local person no longer is doing business or.
Okay. The local person was for our copiers, our large main copiers in the building. Marco has done our managed print services for working on 10 years now. And what this agreement is basically doing is it's finalizing the last third of our printer fleet that is old and out. By doing this, I think that we actually reduced our yearly payment to them by updating. It allows them to have less supplies, less toner, less repair parts, everything. It allows their inventory to be smaller and them to be more efficient, which they pass on to us.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion on the Marco agreement? Mr. Roberts?
I see the annual and monthly spend stuff in here, but what's the total contract value on this one?
That I would have to look up. I do not know off the top of my head.
Is it the level where we need to compete it?
This also went through a co-op, and it's
This was a,
Oh, is this the state?
Right.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Purchased that through the co-op, so
Yeah,
we
okay.
didn't have to worry about bidding or whatever. And there are very limited number of people out there actually providing managed print services out there, so.
Okay, good questions, thank you. Any other discussion on the Marco agreement? There is a motion to approve the Marco agreement. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 3, operations, approval of the 2026-2027 technology plan. Is there a motion? Moved by Mrs. Gleason. Is there a second? Thank you. Second by Mrs. Bear. Mr. Armitage. Or are there questions or discussion first? Dr. Larson.
I just, now that we've approved the school board committees, just one update to your, is going to be Mindy and Jacob. So, but that just happened in this meeting, so just remember to update it.
Yep.
Thank you. Anything you want to tell us or share or?
I'll give you my polished executive summary.
Perfect.
The 26-27 plan emphasizes maintaining and renewing the district's one-to-one district device program, strengthening cybersecurity, digital citizenship, integrating North Dakota's new computer science standards, expanding safe AI use, supporting educators through professional development, leveraging data-driven instruction, and maintaining secure, modern technology infrastructure while operating within our assigned budget. I'd like to offer some highlights. We completed the entire building and finally got to special ed in this building. Everyone has an interactive panel now in all the classrooms in the middle school. We have an extra one or two we'll put up in the high school, let them explain, play with it, experiment with them, see what they think. A lot of them still want the short throw projectors like we have there. Understandable, it gives them their whiteboard, they can continue to use it. So we'll continue to go that as funding allows us next year. Again, the 450 iPads, thank you for approving that since I opened the boxes already. Chromebooks, same story. Again, like I say, we are going to take all the best of the Chromebooks from the high school that have come off lease and bringing them down, clean them up, and we're going to put them in, again, every 3 through 5K classroom will have a classroom set of Chromebooks. We'll have training scheduled for our building facilitators to handle. We did the pilot program last year with the 5th grade, having them, so it seemed to go successfully. We have the resources, it's no out-of-pocket expense, so we thought it'd be a good idea to go with that. And also, at the end of these leases, we have the option to buy these devices at a greatly reduced cost, so that's how we hung on to them, to give them to the middle school. I did get an email from Steve asking the budget for new equipment had pretty much was a little lower, and he was concerned as to why that would be, or at least curious. I don't know if concerned is the right word, but curious. The reason that happened is we looked at depth in view of all of our maintenance agreements, and there are certain things like the Mitel voice over IP phone system, they don't make those parts anymore. We're paying $11,000 for High Point to look at the boxes with us. We can do that ourselves. We have the spares from when we upgraded that are there, but they've been rock solid for us. We're not anticipating any problem, and when there is going to be a problem, it's going to be time to update the whole system. It was originally put in 2008 and then updated in 2019 with new phones throughout the district and new, they call them pizza boxes, that are put in each rack in the buildings. So that's going to be my next guy's problem, because it should last through me. So. HP servers, we did not renew our maintenance on them. We're down to 2 of them. We have on-site, we have on cloud backup, on-site backup. If something happens, we think we can get up really quick with the existing boxes we have. So we didn't renew that. And the switches, we didn't put any in there for switches because we're in year 2 of 3 years since we just replaced them 2 years ago. So we've got another year of that before there'll be any more maintenance requests on those as well. We did defer purchasing equipment for one of the high school labs. CTC purchased half of one, and we purchased the other half, so they were consistent. The other lab we updated with increased video cards and putting second monitors in, and the media center computers. With Kathy retiring, Mrs. Berkeley retiring, we weren't sure what the new one wanted to do. Do we want to continue to have desktops there? So we wanted to wait till the new media center person was in there before we decided what to do there. So we felt we could push purchasing approximately 40 machines off till next year. So that's about 30 grand right there, which would be about the amount we're down. So I try to keep with the business manager, we try and keep it around 350,000 a year between maintenance and new purchases for new equipment. So that would explain about the 10% drop there would be that we didn't buy those 40 desktops.
Thank you. Any questions or more discussion on the technology plan for 26-27? Any further questions or discussion? If not, we have a motion and a second, so all those in favor of approving the 26-27 technology plan, please say aye. All opposed? Motion passes, and thank you, Mr. Armitage, for all your work, and I know the week... What's that?
It's more Christie than me.
Well, I know the week before school starts and the first week of school is your favorite time of year.
Absolutely.
So, thank you in advance. Moving on to letter B under operations, first review of the strategic plan update from Mr. Gaylor.
All right, so in the drive, you'll see the updated strategic plan. My comments earlier were that we clarified and made more community-friendly language. We added a glossary, and then we did the nesting of the metrics under those goal areas. So the board monitors at the goal area, and we can report out at the priority area, and you can see how the metrics then nest underneath those. You'll notice on this document some of the highlights. Those were things that the board had provided some feedback on at the last, or sorry, the committee had provided feedback on at the last strategic planning committee meeting, and then that I updated. And so those, the committee has not discussed yet, but those were the updates based on their discussion. And so those highlighted items would be things that you may have questions on because you may not have seen those updates prior to now. Otherwise, in structure, it really represents those 4 main areas that we have goals in, and then the goal for responsible resource planning as well. So what we used to call culture of learning now is creating a positive school culture. So note the change to a little bit more community-friendly language, trying to take out some of the education jargon. And then where we couldn't take out the jargon, we provided a glossary to make sure that people had access to that. Strategic Focus 2, which used to be Leadership for Learning, is now Strengthening Teaching and Leadership. Focus 3 was on Engagement for Learning, and now it's Helping Students Stay Engaged. So just subtle changes in language, and then the nesting of the metrics then that will help us monitor at a board level. And I hope in August to be able to show you what that dashboard will look like as well. Questions on revisions or additions, I guess, from the Strategic Planning Committee? A lot of good discussion there. A lot of time has been put into this annual update as well, and so appreciate those committee members.
Any additional information from any of the committee members or questions? Dr. Larson?
We are just doing a first reading of this, and we chose to do that just to give it, board members and new board members just a little more time to look it over and become comfortable with it, or suggest any changes or updates. But this will, with the new dashboard that we'll be getting, the way that this is laid out will plug in nicely to that, and then we'll be able to have real-time data with that.
Okay, thank you. So, as Dr. Larson mentioned, no action required on this item at this time. Moving on to letter C, review of committee meeting plan. Mr. Gaylor?
Again, just provided a list of those corresponding dates. We wanted to make sure that people had things on their calendars and, at the usual and typical cadence of what different committees meet. And a huge thanks to Amy Newstall for pulling that together and looking at those dates. But I'm hopeful that will maybe cut down on the requests from Amy and I for doodle polls, because we can hopefully just set those times aside. And then if committees need to meet more frequently, at the board's discretion, we would be able to still do that. But I'm hopeful that if the board can look at that and review it, that maybe we could take action on that, and then in August to approve the calendar for that. Or if anybody's ready to move forward now, I think.
Okay, thank you. Number 4, personnel, approval to hire for the 2026-2027 school year upon successful background check and appropriate licensure. Approval to hire Shalise Baker, including a memorandum of understanding. Is there a motion? Moved by Mrs. Gleason. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McKenna. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. And also number 2, Joseph Samuelson. Is there a motion to hire Mr. Joseph Samuelson? Thank you. A second? Second by Mrs. Gleason. Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Same sign. Motion carries, and welcome to JPS. Number 5, policies and procedures. We have several on here, and per custom, we will read through them real quickly, and then we can accept a motion to approve. Or
Mr.
go ahead.
President, could we do, once you're done reading, them,
Yep.
would we do all at one time unless a board member would like to pull one out specifically?
Exactly. Yep. Thank you. So, approval of policy amended DBBA drug and alcohol testing program for employees. Amended DBBA-AR drug and alcohol testing procedures. Amended DBBA-E1 record of observable behavior. Amended DBBA-E2 steps of performing a reasonable suspicion test. Amended DBBA-E3 drug and or alcohol testing consent form. Number 2, amended DEAA drug and alcohol free workplace. 3, amended KAAA visitors access and communications in the schools, including the first reading of KAAA-AR visitors in schools regulations. Approval of amended FDB education of the homeless student to include the amended FDB-E2 JPS district level dispute resolution form. And number 5, amended FDH student in foster care to include the amended FDH-E2 foster care student transportation plan. Is there a motion? Or is there one we do not want to include in a combined motion?
I move to approve the policies as described.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Larson. All approved and seconded to approve the policies as listed. All those in, any discussion? Any further discussion? Any discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Number 6, tuition agreements. Approval of a tuition agreement for the 26-27 school year. Pingree Buchanan. Is there a motion? Moved by Mrs. Gleason. Is there a second? Second by Mrs. Bear. Any discussion on the tuition agreement motion? Discussion? See no further discussion. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Same sign. That motion carries. Items for future agenda. Letter I on the agenda. Items for future agenda. Mrs. Gleason.
I would like to see sooner than, it seems like in the past several years, we have been voting on snow removal like in October. I'd like to see that happen more like end of August, September, so that it gives us a little bit more time to look at things. And if we could ask for not only a contract, I know currently we have a contract that's just a blanket contract, but I'd like to also see a breakdown of if we did a per incident. removal on that. I feel like the last couple of years, we have paid way more for snow removal than we should have been. So,
Okay, thank you. I hope you're not sensing something about the upcoming season, but yes, point well taken. Any further items or items for future agendas? Mr. McKenna?
Yeah, Adam brought up a good point in the superintendent evaluation, or the superintendent report, regarding the special reserve levy and how we've used that. And I noticed from the minutes of the finance committee that the finance committee wasn't supportive of potentially increasing that levy. But I think maybe a bigger discussion might need to be had on and maybe this has already been had in the finance committee itself, but just what are other school districts doing with their special reserve levy? How we could potentially consider using that special reserve levy in a time where we're getting hamstrung on the value of a levy and all sorts of different things going on. So just respecting the finance committee's conversation and the work they're doing, but also I think it elevates itself in the current financial situation to maybe have a bigger discussion and maybe a board education about what other communities are doing and more information about that.
Thank you. Any other items for future agendas? Okay, meeting scheduled, school board meeting, sorry, Dr. Larson, sorry.
I just would like to request we did suspend the school board compensation for this year, but I would like to send that to Finance Committee for further discussion. I did go pull up the Century Code, and we just want to make sure that we are compliant with what
Sure.
that says. I think we are, but,
Okay.
And also just any unintended consequences of that as well, just to have a discussion and dig deeper and maybe do a little analysis of what other boards do as well within the Finance Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other items? Meetings to be scheduled. School board meeting on Monday, August 17, 2026 at 5:30 here in the Thompson Community Room. Back to school breakfast. Yep, here it is. Tuesday, August 18th, 2026 at 7:30 a.m. in the high school commons area. 7:30. And potential for a special board meeting within the week, within a week, let's say. Any other meetings to be scheduled? Any other meetings anyone can think of? Seeing none, we are doing the monthly superintendent evaluation. Go ahead, Dr. Larson.
Is there a health insurance committee meeting coming up in August? I was thinking or maybe we were waiting till September. I can't remember. There may potentially be one. It'll be on the calendar if it is, but I just wanted to make sure. September 13th. Okay, just making sure. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Monthly superintendent evaluation. We'll work through what we discussed tonight, and we'll get there. Seeing no further business, meeting adjourned, and thank you for your patience as I stumble through that. Thanks to Dr. Larson and Christy for keeping me on track. So, meeting adjourned.